I remember back to when I covered Within Temptation's Don't Pray For Me a couple months ago, and approaching that video, I'd already listened to several tracks of theirs, and at this point I've listened to probably several more beyond that. I am very impressed with this group, as I am much of the European talent I stumble across. It's been a growing presence on my playlist. I'm sure maybe for some of you it's been the same, although I can certainly speak in respect to my social circle. I love finding unknown groups that perhaps put me in I say unknown in respect to my compatriots who have no clue who I listen to probably about 95% of the time in terms of the groups I regard. But I do like kind of putting myself in this niche, isolated space, because I oftentimes am the person who finds the more advantageous talents. And there's many, of course, that I can think of in terms of mutual respects between my peers and myself, but it's in my venturing, especially over international borders, that I've really come across some stellar listens, and Within Temptation is certainly that. As a rock and metal fan, that obviously appeals to more symphonic edge to their music, really captivated me. I mean, immediately from Shed My Skin, I think that was the first track I heard by them. Wonderful piece. It just mesmerizing from the get-go. And Don't Pray For Me as well. Beautiful compliment along that line. And the song itself gave us a lot to talk about in terms of its message. I thought it was a very well-constructed perspective that had a lot of heart to it. And definitely perhaps what we might have, room for discussion on many points. That's what I like about tracks, especially when it comes to more message-centric ones and diving in. It gives you that wide berth of consideration with music that allows you to enjoy it on another level and to get to the heart of the artist, which I felt Don't Pray For Me mastered quite well, and that I definitely heard where Sharon Den on Del was coming from. But even then, the track itself, again, boasted the metal background, which I absolutely loved, and the atmosphere to the music itself and her voice, especially on those bridge sections, wonderful. Remember, if you've heard that song, I'm sure you can speak to that. Just wonderful work. I figured it'd be fun to cover a new one, and I've been waiting for this one to release. It's been teased for a little while. It's called The Fire Within. I believe it's being released as a single. I'm not exactly sure of that for certain, but it's a new Within Temptation song, and I had so much fun covering Don't Pray For Me. A lot of you responded to that video quite well, but I figured, hey, let's go for another round. And I don't remember if I said it at the time, but I was certainly thinking it. Of course, if new tracks pop up, I'm always game, as I am now. With The Fire Within, good name. Let's go ahead and get a first impression for the track. I'm sure for many of you, maybe many of you listening, you're already familiar with this group, right? So you're very knowledgeable on Within Temptation's talents. But perhaps for some of you, and this is what I hope is the case with at least some of my videos, I'm approaching new audiences that are, perhaps of mutual foundation for me in regards to the tracks and the genres that you appreciate. Me being a rock and metalhead guy, obviously there's the baseline appeal, and I'm sure for many others you fit that moniker as well. I do like for this channel to perhaps produce pathways for you in accessing new artists, if that is your yearning to find talents, in the world, not just in America. And we've got plenty of talented groups here and artists, many of which I spotlighted on this channel, and many more are coming, I can tell you that for sure. But it's the European stuff that has really gelled with me, and I know, based on my circle, a lot of the artists in that realm of the world deserve a much wider lens. And maybe you're somebody looking for new talents that perhaps you've been exposed to yet. Hopefully I can provide revision for you within Temptation that satisfies your yearning. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the song. We can get a first impression for it together. And I'm also, some of you who follow my music coverage on this channel, which again is a favorite art form of mine, I spotlight quite a wide variety, but music has been the one I've been yearning to bring into a greater presence here. I do try and provide every provision to satisfy audience tastes, and if you're somebody who likes to read along with the message of the piece, I will have those lyrics superimposed for you in the video, and you can enjoy that dimension of a song if you so desire to. All right, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cue up The Fire Within, and we can get a first impression for it together. I can't wait to hear more. I can't wait to expand my library from Within Temptation. Again, I've got a pretty good helping of their songs at this point that another one I'm sure will be great to add to the shuffle. All right, here we go. Get ready. I like this interlude. It's a good introduction. Oh. That's a good flow. I like the little jumps there. It's paced beautifully. Nothing's gotta change it.
all about. Gotta keep believing, this is why I'm breathing, nothing else on my mind.
Very hopeful disposition.
The time has been running out. Lord, I feel like I'm under my skin. I can't feel
Europe has such talented vocalists.
no more hesitating, I don't wanna face it. This is
Her vocals are really well paced here to match the tone of the song. Good energy. No, that's beautiful. Guys, like the faded vocals in the background are a great touch.
This cannot be taken, all I've been facing, I will never let it go. Feel the liberation, it won't be forsaken, never gonna shout it out. Suddenly I see that this is not the end. Whoa, Lord, I feel like coming under my skin. I can feel the change under my skin. Feel my mind straining, all my doubts are fading, rushing to the edge, and I let myself go. I feel that my heart's going crazy now.
That's a good shift too in that one line, because they didn't do that, I think, at the first variation. Good transitional phrase here. That's good. Great entrance. Good summary to the song too. They didn't lighten that at all. Ends on a good note. Very consistent. That's good. It's a satisfactory challenge song. You know, I do find it quite inspirational, and it's got an energy that, in the way this song is paced to match the lyrics, it fits this faster procession of time. And I feel for the track and its tone. I mean, again, it's a pretty, you know, I'd say, intense metal song. I like that about them, even though, again, it's got a personality that makes it much softer, largely with Sharon Denondel's vocals, which are always a treat. And again, you know, I've come across many talented female vocalists within the Europe scene, and I've been quite more than impressed from all different countries within the Europe landscape. I mean, you could talk about, let's say, Zora Kolk from Blackbriar. She's Dutch. Or Uli Perhonen from Snow White Blood. She's German. And there's many other artists as well. Linda Toni Grans. She's a Swedish. And there, again, like I said, many others. I could go on naming names. But Sharon Denondel is wonderful listening to her. Again, like I said, of Don't Pray For Me, her vocals there. I mean, again, I'd already been familiarized with some of her talents through other works like Shed My Skin, but that song really was just, it was incredible. And again, like I said, the heart of the piece in terms of the message. I did think in terms of the dimension of the songs, Don't Pray For Me, let's say in comparison to this one, has a much greater depth. It was definitely, like I said, fun to explore, you know, even as somebody who perhaps, again, like I said, it's a conversation that provokes discussion and contemplation. And as a Christian, you know, I was reading the song with the emphasis of the lyrics and the message, and I was like, this is actually a very interesting perspective. You know, perhaps, again, there's not in every way in alignment, but I love being able to gauge artists in their heart. You know, as much as they mention, whether it be perhaps through, let's say, behind the scenes stuff or in the song straightforward themselves. You get to understand perhaps the artistic inspiration and where the person is in their life and the message they want to communicate. And I felt that Don't Pray For Me was a great example of that. And again, it was just a fun track to cover itself. I love spotlighting European artists. Again, perhaps for those of you who might, and I don't say this to be demeaning, but you might be uninitiated with other artists internationally where you're yearning to find talents, maybe outside of, America or what's familiar in terms of genre or particular entertainment landscapes. You want to explore what's perhaps the lesser known. But, Within Temptations, they've got a pretty wide audience, but speaking again in regard to my circle, no one knows who I'm sure they are. At least I've never heard mention of it. And whenever I bring up half the artists, by name that I listen to, I get blank stares. So I'm like, there's room to gauge talents that perhaps, again, like I said, are not as familiar to certain circles like my own. But maybe you're somebody who kind of, comes at this video being like, I never knew about Within Temptation. I never heard of them before. Now you have. And what were your thoughts on that piece? Like I said, it's a good challenge song, great energy to it, that consistent rock metal flow, balanced with Sharon's vocals, and a bit of a softer breath in parts, good transitional phrases. And again, like I said, the song is very well written. I just think between Don't Pray For Me and the other one, that one had much more of a depth. This one kind of felt a bit similar to tracks I've heard paced the same way in terms of its mission of an inspirational challenge song to get you invigorated to master a task or a goal. I feel the fire within burning high. It's got that manifestation of inspiration to it that some other tracks have played of as well, and the way the song was paced, it definitely matches in familiarity, but it was still very well written. And again, with Sharon Donadell's vocals, it's beautiful. And even in the background too, with the subtlety, you can sometimes hear that flicker of her voice. I thought it was just great. I really appreciate their music. I've really come to love them, as I have many other artists as well in the European realm. What are your guys' thoughts with Within Temptation? Again, from whatever perspective you come from, you might be a new listener, you might be a longtime fan. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on The Fire Within down below, if you feel so inclined to provide your perspective. And going forward, if Within Temptation releases anything new, I'm sure they will. I don't know when, but maybe it'll be another single or something. Who knows? I will definitely cover them. Again, I've had a lot of fun in the past with Don't Pray For Me and The Fire Within. Same. It's a beautiful work, and it'll definitely play very well into the shuffle of their works on my playlist, as well as all the European artists I'm collecting by the day. But it'll be a great entry. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.